What is happening, fellow fantasy GMs? I'm JJ Wang. This is the bearded one, DJ Dub. Our powers combined, we are the Fantasy Couriers.
Oh, JJ Wang. How are you doing on this fine? We're recording Easter afternoon.
Probably better than you are, huh?
Yeah, I had an attack by the yellow dust. It's been a rough couple of days. The pollen is exploding on the world, and it is taking me for a ride. But
Never
when
really,
I
I've never really had to deal with any of that. Knock on wood, but it's never really been an issue for me. I know some people they just randomly pop up one year and they've never had it before, so I've never had. I've
Yeah,
seen people deal with it. I feel bad for you. I really do. But
you can see the eyes. They're a little like red for the wear. Saw a buddy who had the same thing, and it's weird. I never got it till I got older. And then luckily for me, it's only a week or two that it just poof. It's just the poof, that initial poof of everything. Once the poof goes through,
once the poop
I'm
goes
king of
through.
the world. I mean, I pretty much slept all the way through today and woke up just in time to text you and go, "Hey, you ready to record?" So we're gonna do this. We're gonna get through some rookie receivers. Hit us up. We got a few more weeks till the NFL draft, and then we're gonna be able to talk about these rookies with more meaning. Even like I think everything we say these last couple weeks could mean nothing if this stud receiver ends up playing in Tampa. If the best receiver in the draft for some odd reason gets drafted by Tampa, their draft stock is not worth garbage. But if some like dud who we're not thinking anything about ends up in Green Bay, all of a sudden they're getting drafted as a top five dynasty player. So it's an intriguing change how it could adapt in the next couple of weeks, especially with the depth of this receiver class. If there's anywhere other than like defense and linemen and things we don't draft, it's probably receiver this year with the depth that we're going to get into. But all that to say, hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Put comments in YouTube. We'll get you back. Everything is in the notes. We want to see the community grow. We want you to hear what you want to hear. So hit us up with what you want us to talk about.
Yeah. So this last group we have is the wide receivers. We've already worked a little bit with the quarterbacks, the running backs. Just how you work with them through the draft, how valuable the wide receiver is to you, and like you said, the influx of wide receivers been. I feel like it's been so deep the last 3 years. There's like 6 or 7 wide receivers coming in and that end up being productive wide receivers throughout the year, and it's just hard. I think we was looking at wide receivers last week, and we got to like what 50 of them that we were like some kind of not super happy with, but we'd be happy to have them this year. And same thing as in the last couple of years, it's the same thing as this year. I mean, there's 8 good wide receivers coming in. So my first question to you is, how good does a wide receiver have to be? With there's so many of them coming in, how good does a wide receiver have to be for you to take it like a 101?
Very, 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 very good. Because the if it and a lot of it depends upon structure of the team. I was having this
Oh yeah,
discussion this weekend too. Nikhil Harry is probably and probably Chase last year are the two biggest names in the last little while that went 1-1. Usually it's a there's most of it just super flex. Usually it's a stud running back. It's a usually a quarterback in super flex. But if it's not, it's usually some sort of a stud running back that will go 1-1 in a rookie draft. And receivers generally, it's been a change over the years. Take 3 years to really step up, but it's turned into basically 2 years is what we're looking at before they really step up. So you got to be willing to be patient with your team if you're taking a receiver 1-1. I got lucky. I have a share of Chase, and
yeah,
he's pretty good. The same if you had Jefferson a few years back, but
yeah.
most of the other ones are waiting.
Jefferson was a prime example of not being the number one receiver. You could get him. He was probably going at like the 109,
That's not got him.
110, 111. So he was there was probably like three receivers going before Jefferson, and at the end of the first round, you've got your wide receiver, one franchise wide receiver, and that's the thing. There's just so many of them that you can get that guy at the end, and it's pretty much the same thing. Same thing this year. I'm looking at the wide receivers here. I got now. It's got them pulled up in front of me. So like a lot of the talk over the last couple of weeks, like the top two wide receivers have been Garrett Wilson and Drake London. Garrett Wilson's out of Ohio State and Drake London's out of USC. USC seem to be doing a really good job lately with wide receivers coming out. At Pittman and then your boy St. Brown and now
Amon-Ra.
Drake London. And Drake London, this have you seen his stats for last year? So he only played 8 games. He had 88 catches in 8 games.
11 catches a game.
Yeah. So I mean, and he had over 1,000. I think over 1,000 yards. I'm pretty sure. Let me. I'm not sure where it's at, but he was on
88
pace
for 1,084 and 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, so that's just eight or 9 games. He was getting peppered. I mean, pretty much the only one they were throwing to, screens and stuff like that. So watch out. He's not super fast, but I mean, obviously he can get open, he can get the ball, especially with the way the wide receivers are working with a bunch of screens. Just give them the ball early and see what they can do. But I mean, I don't see any of these guys, going really before what Brees Hall or Kenny Walker or even Malik Willis, probably around the 105, probably, right? You think?
Well, I had a guy ask me a while back when I'm not the college football expert, which receiver was my number one. And I said Drake London. He thought I was nuts. And I was like, everything I've seen, heard, I mean, all I needed to hear was Drake London's big brother in training is Amon-Ra St. Brown. So if he's following him in, so it was my rookie man crush from last year. If he's following him in, but just as you said, they're putting him out in USC, and a lot of people are going to jump onto that old school Al Davis speed thing. So if you're going to do that, you're getting Thornton out of Baylor, who ran a 4.28. This kid out of Tennessee.
The really fast guy that would be like the Raiders guy this year, I'm thinking would be like Jameson Williams from Alabama, but he had the ACL. Where would you? I mean, him coming off the ACL injury at the end of the college season, so which would have been in January. Where would you feel comfortable drafting him going into this rookie draft? The ACL, and before the ACL, he was, I say, the number one wide receiver.
I mean, he's still ACLs. I think you said it last week. ACLs are nothing anymore.
Like a sprain. They're like a sprained ankle.
Sprained ankle. So his high ankle sprain's coming towards the end. And being a rookie receiver, only a couple are going to really be giant anyway. I've been listening to a lot of people talk, and they're doing like the mock rookie drafts. And he's falling between 8 and 10 in a rookie draft. And they're like, this could be the steal of the draft. This could be the guy I get that just hot dog. I get him. So he's going to fall to somebody in your league who has a good team, or if probably that good team traded away so they could be good. So somebody else has that 8 to 10 anyway. But
yeah, if it's like pick 8 to 10 and he's sitting there, I mean, I'm probably trying to do everything I can to try to trade up into that and get a piece of that. I mean, if you're getting the best wide receiver, that's what they said before injury at 108, 109. That's the jackpot. I mean,
the kid's not even 21 yet.
Yeah,
He'll be 21 when the season starts. He's young. His body's heal a lot different when you're a lot younger. He's a smidge older than Drake London, but everyone else is same age as Pickens, but everyone else is 21 or over for the most part.
Yes. Speaking of Pickens, this is a guy that I'm really interested. Kind of, if you look at him and watch him play, kind of looks like AJ Green. Speaking of AJ Green, he got a deal, right?
That's championship winning. That's what I heard. Post on one of our sites. Wah, wah, wah.
Congratulations, AJ Green. Keep playing, man. But he kind of looks like AJ Green type, slim body, pretty tall. I think he's like 6'4". I think he was projected as, I know they're all projected as number one wide receiver, but coming into the year, he was projected as that guy as well. Coming out of last year, and then he tore his ACL. That pretty much ruined his season. He was able to play at the end of the year, play a couple of games here, but that's a guy there that was the number one wide receiver, and now you could probably get him, going into the second round, the top of the second round. That's like, again, another great value. Same way as Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks was the man earlier in the year, but he come to the combine. He's not as big as everybody thought he was. He's not as fast as everybody thought he was going to be. Now he's sliding a little bit. I mean, we're not talking second round, but right around, I think maybe right around that Jameson Williams area. Like it's just so many good wide receivers, man.
I say it depends who you talk to. I see a lot of guys that have Burks, would think Burks might be the top guy.
Yeah.
Some guys have, some guys have Wilson the top guy, or
Like pretty much. I mean, I'll listen to a variety of podcasts. This will kind of see where everybody's gauged at, and literally, I've listened to someone who has all like the top five guys as their number one wide receiver. I've even seen somewhere Chris Olave is their number one wide receiver, and he was the number two target at Ohio State behind Garrett Wilson. But Olave is like just a great route runner, and I think he's got a higher floor than most people do. But even Olave has potential wide receiver one. It's just insane, man.
the thing is, it's a passing league. So anything these days, I wouldn't put it by any of these guys. But then again, this is also that draft where you're like, you're going to pick someone and you're going to cross your fingers and hold your nose. In the grand scheme, there's not at any position, even when you're looking at Brees, you're not going to get him and be like, oh yeah, my team is going to be the greatest team in the world. But somebody's got to be. I mean, it can't be that this can't be an entire draft of Ryan Leafs. There's no way.
It's not going to happen.
No, somebody's got to explode.
Well, I think a lot of people are going to explode. Just because you don't have like that high end talent that you get the drool over for the 3-4 months before the draft. I mean, these guys are going to produce. It's just where you're going to find them at. It might not be the top guy, it might be like the number 8 or number 9 guy. There's going to be a whole bunch of guys that produce, just like every other NFL year. It's just how many of those top guys are going to be busts. That's what you're really kind of looking at.
Yeah.
But like there's a small, like North Dakota State, of course, the Trey Lance school, Carson Wentz school, I believe too, right? Is that
yeah.
Carson Wentz? So they got a wide receiver. His name's Christian Watson. Dude shoots 6'5", 211. And he ran a 4.38, so 4.36. So that's another big guy. Would you feel comfortable with these small school guys, receivers?
These days, I think so. A lot of these schools, they don't run. It used to be such a wide gap between the large school. I mean, small school, we're not talking putts programs. We're not talking like D3 schools. So these what used to be, so we're looking at FCS and BCS schools basically. So that I'm getting them backwards. FCS is FCS is what they are. Yeah. And those programs are still solid. North Dakota State is a solid program. They're that's that team that you'll hear every now and then just knocking off a decent D1 team. So that their programs are putting out decent players. They just sometimes those guys for one reason or another end up at a smaller school. But with the size of that dude and a big fast guy, I'd jump on it. Some things I'm seeing his name's being thrown all over the place. This could be a guy that benefits whoever goes to the Packers. A lot of people are saying, well, what about the Packers for him? Be a little later. He lands in the Packers. His draft stock. You look at these top 10 standard guys. He's gonna be thrown in there just because he's got Aaron Rodgers, and somebody's gonna jump. And that's when I think he's gonna screw somebody pretty bad.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like that happens pretty much. It happens a lot. They get put in with these good wide receivers or these good quarterbacks. They get thrown in there. Oh, draft stock is going to go through the roof because they're playing with such and such and such and such. I mean, I think if any receiver goes to Green Bay, that's going to be the guy, right? I mean, if they draft somebody high, which they typically don't, but you think at some point they would have to. They need a wide receiver. They did just have Sammy Watkins. Is that where Sammy Watkins went, right?
Yeah, that's where Sammy Watkins went. Congratulations. Wah, wah, wah. Did you like how this week we didn't even do the news at the beginning because you just heard all the news woven into the rookies because Sammy Watkins and AJ Green, if you want them, they'll be waiver wire fodder. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, somebody's going to pick them up. Anybody that's playing with Aaron Rodgers, this is going to be Sammy Watkins this year. There's got to be still some Sammy Watkins fans left out there somewhere, right?
I heard it stated he is like the best worst receiver in the NFL, and he just fell into Buffalo at the wrong time. He was solid in college, and it just things didn't pan out. But the dude has he's gotten his bags of cash back to last week's episode.
He's got he's gotten a lot of run for being as crappy and hardly ever playing. Is
Yeah,
like it's amazing putting out these long careers and not really producing at all.
yeah. I
But
mean, Chiefs are a spot that's been talked about for Watson, and throw him into the Chiefs, and he's back down to being what wide receiver, maybe 13 or so, because that's going to be like four guys plus Kelsey and a running back to throw a ball to, and that could end up being your classic Drew Brees situation or Tom
I
Brady
mean,
situation.
possibly. I mean, Saints is another team that needs some wide receiver
They
help
need
as
everything
well.
help.
Yeah, but like if a receiver goes to Kansas City, what if Patrick Mahomes is just that guy that just likes playing favorites, right? Once he finds a guy he likes, that's who he's going to throw to. And one of
Yeah.
these receivers comes in, and that's who Mahomes likes. That's who he's going to target a lot. So who really cares about Juju and the other guy if that's the type of receiver or quarterback Mahomes? It's kind of like Aaron Rodgers. They're kind of like the same guys. And once they have their number one target, they don't really care about the number two. They're just going to
Yeah.
pepper that number one guy.
Yeah, Roger. I could see it being a better chance with Mahomes than Rogers because Rogers has that like Belichick mentality to him. He doesn't throw to rookies generally, so maybe this is the time to sneak up and grab some Amari Rogers. Maybe he's like, "Hey, you're not a rookie anymore. I'll throw to you now." Boom, 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 boom. Pepper him down there in the slot. See what happens as they're moving forward. It'll be interesting to see, especially with Tyreek being gone. Maybe one of these guys is going to take Tyreek's spot. None of them are Tyreek, but they'll be in that location. Maybe Mecole Hardman. I got him in a trade this week to
Does he
I had
still
to
play for Kansas? He don't play for Kansas City
he's
anymore.
plays for Kansas City
He's
still.
still with
Like
Kansas City still.
quietly. I don't know. I had to bring him up because I had to play a game of covering my tail. Um this is going to tangent us off for 2 seconds though, but if you have a good team in Dynasty, you you need are you trading away stuff just to make sure that you survive a season with all the injuries, or are you trying to get padding in all areas so here's what I had to do. I have Lamar Jackson. It's assuming that Lamar Jackson's going to get hurt, right? Because he runs a lot. So I was like, I'm going to get a Huntley. Throw Huntley in there to make sure I've got my tail covered. Because if Lamar Jackson goes out, I'll get Huntley for some running yards. So I got Hardman. That's how I got to Hardman. But Hardman last year had 59 receptions for 893 yards with Tyreek Hill. So you pop out Hill. They've always said Hardman could be with the speed the next Hill. Maybe year 4 is his year.
I
But
mean,
anyway, two questions there. What do you think? Could it be his year? 5'10, 187. And if you're in a win now situation, are you trading to cover your tail?
if I can win now, yeah, I'm all I'm looking for is in backup. I'm trying to fix, my weaker areas. Like you said, if I'm questionable at quarterback, injury, but yeah, I'm gonna go back and try to get that backup guy. Absolutely, if I'm winning now. Because if I'm trying to win now, rookies aren't really what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Like if I'm trying to win now, my team's probably good enough. I don't need any of these rookies. So I'll just trade them, trade the picks away or whatever, and then try to fill in, the bench spots, or just, you always need running backs. You need like 14 running backs. So
That's
maybe try
low.
to, yeah, so maybe try to find an extra running back instead of a draft pick. But yeah, if I'm winning now, I'm trying to cover my back because the window's only so long. You'll have other more time for draft later on.
Yeah, that was my ADD, ADHD seeing a squirrel kind of thought pattern. But we're talking about the Chiefs. So Mecole Hardman. So that team has Mecole Hardman, MVS, and
Juju.
Juju. Three guys who nobody wants on their team, but everybody's kind of curious about this year because unless I don't know, like I think
That
one of them's got to be good, right?
so would you so as a crew, as a wide receiver crew, would you rate them as a number one most unwanted wide receiver core overall. Because I feel like all three of those guys, no, like nobody likes. Like,
Mhm.
of course, nobody likes Hardman because just for the last 3 years, he's always been the next guy. MVS, he just goes deep and drops all kinds of passes. And then Juju's just not good without AB. So that, and I feel like that's going into the year. It's got to be like the as far as like fantasy goes, like the most hated fantasy wide receiver group, right?
Oh, I think 100% because you want everybody's like, I want a piece of that. I want a piece of that offense.
Do you?
What do you want? Mahomes and Kelsey. And then if you're in Dynasty, I mean, I'm one that will still take Kelsey, but he's either expensive or really cheap. There's no in between for him. But do you really want to deal with that when they be the next like Patriots problem?
Yeah, I mean, what if they just it ends up Mahomes just ends up liking all three of them, and then just all three of them just each of them get like 60 catches and 700 yards and a couple touchdowns.
Then you better hope you start him on the week that you have bye.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
My money's on Juju of the three, I think, if I have to pick one.
yeah, I guess that would
You've seen him
probably
do it more than the other two, per se.
he's the yeah he's the only one that has done it. So yeah, I mean, like, but like, get back to the rookies. There's just so many of these wide receivers. You're going to be able to get them probably a good one even in the third round, probably.
Hmm.
So, but
That's where
yeah, I
all my
mean,
picks are, if I have them.
yeah, I've got a pick in the league that I'm in. I got a 101 and a 103, trying to figure out. I want to go Brees Hall, but if I go on Brees Hall, I'm pretty sure the number two guy is going to get Malik Willis. And then if I go Malik Willis, I'm pretty sure the other guy's going to get Brees Hall. But I got to find a way to get both of them. So maybe I can try to get that 102, maybe give him a 103 and like a player or something, just jump up a pick.
Just give me a bunch of stuff for my 102 in the other league, then you got one in each league, and we'll call it square.
I've been thinking about it. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want
I
to
can't
give
figure
up.
out what I'd take. Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. I just like say, I wish I had a better grip of what the guy at 101 was going to do. Then I
Well,
would
you
probably.
might have a better grip in about, a week. Well, week and a half or so, depending when you listen to this. So once we get through the NFL draft, it could be that Brees Hall ends up being in some full blown nasty committee with a young running, like say he goes to Denver, all of a sudden Brees Hall is the number 3 or 4 pick.
I mean, as if being in Denver, would you waste? But being a team like that, how could you waste a pick on a running back like that?
CD Lamb. That's all I'm gonna say. CD Lamb.
Well, that's different. That's Jerry Jones. That's special.
But yeah, but some there's gonna be somebody who might do something like that. They'll be like, hey, like, I mean, decent spot that would still hurt him would be Tennessee. You'd have to draft him knowing you won't really have him for 2 or 3 years. So I mean, I think there'll be more clarity. I mean, he goes to one of those places, then you don't have to worry about it. You keep your 1-3, you don't give up a player, you take Willis. The second person's going to draft probably Walker to him, or he it just right now we're just sort of throwing out magic. And
Yeah, yeah. We're just
in a few weeks, we'll have a little more clarity and be able to be like, yeah, I don't like this. And then that person's gonna be the guy that's like rookie of the year because somebody tears his ACL and he steps up and runs for 2,000 yards.
yeah. I just like talking. I just like talking about these guys before anybody can throw anything negative on them. Like pumping them all up as much as possible because as soon as they start landing on these teams, or this guy's not going to be any good because of this guy's not going to be good any of that. But if we just pump them all up before the draft even starts, and then everybody gets a little more excited about them. But
So your last one, I said I'm on the Drake London train here. Who's your favorite wide receiver of the class?
I've been going back and forth with that all over the place. I mean, I really like George Pickens. That's who I really want to go with. I mean, Garrett Wilson is probably the other guy, but I, I just think I'm going to go with George Pickens. I think George Pickens is going to be the wide receiver that I end up with the most. So you can get him later in the first or the end of
Yeah.
the top of the second round. And I think that's just going to be a steal. But
Yeah.
if I'm sitting at 104 or 105, I wouldn't
Jump
have
on.
any issues taking Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in that range in the draft, you pick who you like. Like if you got the top three, sometimes you can't do anything stupid. Even if you do really like Pickens, you're like, okay, I really like Pickens, but I can't pass on these guys.
Oh yeah.
You know, there's because there's really a drop off at that point. I mean, Pickens could be the greatest thing, but you won't know, or he could be the worst thing. So it's one of those. You get it's good gambling, I guess,
I
right?
mean, just looking at these top 10, 11 wide receivers, you're just looking at them, just like, man, how do these guys even fail? Especially the way the NFL is run today. I just feel like every receiver is a success, unless your name's Nikhil Harry, which I still don't understand that. Yeah.
We'll find out this year.
Luckily, Nikhil Harry was kind of the year before I started playing Dynasty, so I really didn't know. I really wasn't up in details as it was at that point. So I kind of missed that. But yeah, so maybe next week we'll run through like a quick mock draft. Maybe we'll just do the first round, maybe a couple picks in the second, just to see where you would gauge these guys at.
That sounds like a plan. So give us some wisdom. I'm going to go back to sleep.
Give you some wisdom. I'll give you some wisdom. Take some medicine. You take medicine, right?
Oh,
Take Mucinex.
dude, I have. I'm gonna sound like I'm a drug addict. I've got Allegra. I've got no nasal spray, eye drops, and I'm taking some Mucinex to clear up. So a lot of it is went into my chest.
I use a lot of it. Like I'll wake up with a
I need to
stuffy
spray
nose,
sleep.
and I'll just nasal spray some Mucinex. That stuff will clear right up in no time.
Yeah,
So
and for me,
yeah,
part of it, I just need to sleep. So I just gotta. I'll sleep and dream of fantasy wide receivers and be ready in a couple weeks for some rookie drafts.
yeah, we only got 2 weeks, so just make sure like I can't repeat enough. Make sure you know who these guys are. There's nothing worse than going into a draft and you don't know any of these guys. So I mean, would you go into a startup and not knowing who any of these guys were? I
Oh,
mean,
I've heard of it. I can mention any names of people that don't know who players are. Your eyes rolled. We'll get
uh,
comments.
I mean, there are a bunch of people out there who don't know these, which it just amazes me. All you gotta do is spend 3 to 5 minutes a day. You can just knock out all these wide receivers and running backs. At least get a familiarity with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, just go get some rest, man. Get some sleep. And you gotta go
Um,
back to school tomorrow, right?
oh yeah, I'm back at work tomorrow.
Oh, nice. Yep.
Yeah.
So have fun with that. Hope you feel better. And as always, trust yourself and trust the process.